Good Morning Liberty.
Well, what is up, all of our liberty-loving friends? This is another fantastic episode of Good Morning Liberty. My name is Nate Thurston. I'm by myself today. Charlie is not here. He didn't have a lot of availability today, and then I have to be somewhere later on this afternoon so I can get all my stuff done and travel down to Savannah, Georgia for a wedding. I got to leave early tomorrow morning, and so I got a lot of stuff I got to get done before that. So anyway, we just couldn't make our schedules work out. By the way, I hope it doesn't go poorly, but everyone at the wedding I'm going to this weekend was hoping for a very, very different outcome this week, and I won't go any further than that because they are longtime friends, and I'm hoping the weekend goes smoothly. I will report back to you how the weekend actually goes. It could be very, very interesting. It is Dumb Bleep of the Week, election edition, and as you can probably imagine, there are a lot of things. There are so many things. In fact, if you follow along normally, I could not put numbers to them. I couldn't whittle the list down very far. If I were to put numbers on them, we'd probably have 30 submissions this week. And I found no way to separate them. They're each on their own, especially dumb. And so we're going to have to listen painfully to each one of these things after I go through a few of the screenshot versions of Freakouts that I have. We'll have to listen to each one of these things and, painfully soak up the liberal tears, I guess, if we want to do that. I think we're just going to have to get going. If it's your first time listening, we normally whittled this down to about 10. We have everyone vote on them, and then we assign a winner. This week is going to be a little bit different. We'll have to see if we can come to some sort of group consensus, or just the whole thing is the winner of Dumb Bleep of the Week, something like that. I don't know how to do it. But let's get going. Let's start talking about these things. I want to say number one, but it's not really number one. Here's the first thing right now. This comes from Victoria Brownworth. A lot of retweets, replies on this one. She says, there's one critical takeaway here. Kamala Harris was not the problem. She had great policy. She had strong values. She had a superb message. She had a stellar ground game. She had immense energy and compassion and love for America. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. So just the takeaway, the one takeaway, it's very critical. The one critical takeaway is that this was not a Kamala Harris problem. And don't let anyone convince you otherwise. Yes, and as someone just said in the group, I am convinced otherwise. I don't think it would have been as easy for Trump to win. And we'll talk about this later. What if Michelle Obama was on the ticket instead of her? Oh, you got a black woman candidate. Do you guys think it would have gone just the same way? Just the exact same way? I think it would have been a little bit different, probably. Well, let's move on to the next. This kind of encapsulated the entire movement that the left was running on. And this is a meme that was going around. It's one of those little artistic drawings, a little thing like that. And it's a guy in the voting booth. His daughter standing behind him says, "Who are you voting for, Daddy?" And he looks back with a weird look on his face and says, "You." He's voting for you to have the right to kill your child because he didn't get you aborted or something like that. I'm not really sure. Yeah, his daughter's got like a massive Stanley Cup. I am actually very white-pilled that this movement did not win this week. Say what you will about the other side of the movement, and we'll talk plenty about things that we end up disagreeing on, but it almost an entire campaign, like 95% of a campaign built on abortion and built on lies, by the way. There was nothing she was going to be able to do about it. it would have been found either unconstitutional, or they would have had to get rid of the filibuster to push something through if they would have even won Congress, and they didn't even win Congress in the first place. There was nothing she could do about it. Likewise goes for the scare tactics around Trump doing a national abortion ban, which is something he said he was against. Likely, I mean, that would have to go through Congress, and then it would also have to survive the Supreme Court. So that probably wouldn't have worked either. But I am glad that this part of this movement, which was like 95% of the movement from the people, I'm glad that lost. Nicole Hannah-Jones posted out, I say some of the tweets, she posted out like 7 or 8 tweets right here. She said, "We must not delude ourselves in this moment. Multiracial democracy in the U.S. is less than 60 years old. It's always been contested, often violently so. It's always been fragile since this nation's inception. Large swaths of white Americans, including white women, have claimed a belief in democracy while actually enforcing a white ethnocracy." Which is a thing, I guess. I don't know what that is. I'm sure she can tell me. "In the face of shifting demographics where white Americans will lose their numeric majority, we see a growing embrace of autocracy to keep the legitimate rulers of this country in power. History teaches us that we are in a perilous moment." Well, the moment's over. I mean, there's never going to be another election, and democracy is dead. So I'm not sure why we're worried about it. Continues, "It was naive to believe that if Kamala Harris avoided discussing her race and gender, that if she evaded so-called identity politics, that she would nullify the liability of being a black woman seeking the presidency in a country where racism and misogyny are embedded in the culture. This is a country that responded to multiracial electorate sending the first black president to the White House with a minority of the white vote by electing an openly white racist man over the person who could have become the nation's first woman president." And this is where I want to ask you the question again. Do you really think that if Michelle Obama was on a ticket and she actually went out there with real policies and ideas and stood behind them and made the case for them and went on long form podcast, doesn't have to be Rogan, but if she actually carried conversations for 1, 2, 3 hours at a time, if you had someone who had the ability to do that, it's not just a willingness to go say on Joe Rogan or whatever, it's the ability as well. And the fact that she wasn't willing, Kamala, came from the fact that she wasn't able to do it because she couldn't defend herself and she couldn't talk without a teleprompter. Kamala Harris is a historically disliked person because of who she is. It doesn't have to be because she is a woman or that she is black. She is terrible. We'll talk plenty about that. Don't worry. I'm going to skip over some of her stuff. Black Americans vote like they vote, not because they align with every single Democratic policy, but because they understand this country with a clarity that can be challenging for people who have not had to live under apartheid in the U.S., who've never known what it's like to not be able to cast a ballot. Are there a lot of black people voting in this country right now who know what it was like not to cast a ballot? The honest question, I don't know the year. What year did black people get the right to vote? There are a lot of people voted in this election who know what it's like to not be able to cast a ballot. Any of them? Are there any? It's got to be fairly old, right? I mean, talking like 100 years or more. Whatever. Anyway, not to have rights of citizenship, not to be protected by this nation's laws. Anyone in the country is protected by the nation's laws. Unless you're a business owner and someone steals less than $1,000 worth of stuff from you. Black Americans know American fascism because they've lived under it. And that understanding overcomes any other policy choices they might otherwise vote on. Black people uniquely understand this nation and how awful it can get. That's why black people voted with Democrats. They still vote with Democrats most of the time. It's not what LBJ said, you know, that quote that goes around. AOC, this is a little bit before we got the results, but I had to include it. She said, it's 70 degrees in New York in the first week of November. Please vote. And this has to, of all the things I've seen, and this is just the plain dumbest when it comes to the climate hysteria. I mean, people talk about stuff every time there's a hurricane or a tornado or it's hot or whatever. But I've never seen it condensed in such small, stupid form before. It's wild to me. It's 70 in New York. Vote. My response was that Kamala Harris has had almost 4 years to fix this. Jokingly. That's a response there. But what is kind of funny is that 70 in New York is not even in the top 10 of the highest temperatures in New York City on that day in November. Thank you to whoever found this and posted it in the live group. That's where this came from. The hottest temperature on November 5th in New York City is in the year 1961. And then we have 2022. We had 2 degrees lower than that. It was 78, by the way, 1961, 76 in 2022. Then we have 74 in 1938. So 4 degrees hotter than what it is now. And that doesn't even take into account the what's called the urban heat island effect, but whatever. We'll talk about that some other time. Then you got several 73s in 1994, 75, 1935. You got 2005, 1959, 2015, 1940. All of those years had days that were hotter than 70 degrees. This one wasn't even in the top 10. Okay. I've never really seen it. Yeah, that's right, Sam. That wasn't real. It was a real global warming. It's just, now's global warming. Back then it was, just happened to be hot, That's just what happens. We got some stuff from Reddit here. Maybe people showing their true colors or whatever. I think this one came from the live group as well. I don't spend a lot of time on Reddit, but I have seen screenshots of this going around quite a bit. One person says, with almost 8,000 upvotes on Reddit, I have a neighbor who's a huge MAGA fan. He is Mexican-American, and his 2 parents are here illegally and live with him. How would I go about reporting him and getting them deported? I'm in Florida. Anyone with MAGA family members or employees, report those individuals to ICE on Inauguration Day. That's the thing here. If they have illegal immigrant family members or employees, it's sad for the people, but the message needs to be shoved down their throats, cripple their hearts, their farms, and their businesses. Okay. Let's see. This one says, I was inspired by another post I just saw. An ex-friend of mine is now very MAGA. We live in Texas, and she drove out of state to have an abortion about 11 months ago. I have an invoice and a copy of a medical leave of absence note she gave to her employer. How do I effectively report her? Yeah. Not really living out your values. It's a little different to have actual values and principles on something. But then when you see that someone's different politically, you go with this. That's sort of weird. And then the one on the right over here from Greg Hatfield, rainbow flag, American flag, Greg Hatfield. F Latinos and Arabs. There, I said it. Hope you all get deported and banned. Okay. All right, let's move on. See, I'm just not. Yeah, like Costco said, they scream tolerance 24/7, 365. As long as they agree with them, as long as they agree. It turns out if you don't agree, or if you care about other things like the economy or whatever it is, could be different social issues or just whatever the reason is, you're gone. You're out of here. This person said, Democrats need their own propaganda machine, and I'm not even joking a little bit. A comment on here says 100. We need to stop pretending the voters care about statistics and ideals and get down to their level. So the fix is that the Democrats need a propaganda machine. I would recommend this person scroll through the news for the next 4 years and just actually, let's just put the news stations on a dartboard, and we'll close our eyes and we'll throw a dart, and whatever news station it hits, let's open that news station and let's see how they are covering politics. And we'll see if there's any propaganda machines out there. I think you guys know what I'm talking about, but Mark Romano, this guy doesn't know. He says, congratulations, media. It looks like you succeeded in getting Trump reelected. You made excuses for him. You refused to cover the batshit crazy things he said and did. You sane-washed him at every turn. Looks like you got what you wanted. These people need help. You guys know, if you listen to this show every day, that I strongly disagree with that statement that just happened. I don't have to go all the way into it because we've got about 25 more things to go through. Shannon, poor Shannon, with 21 million views after 40,000 reposts on this, says, so I'm supposed to go to work and do my job tomorrow as if half the country didn't just vote to give me less rights than men? First off, Roe versus Wade, that happened in 2022. Okay, that happened, and there's not much else Trump is going to be able to do about it, even if he wants to. States' rights, Supreme Court ruled this. Plus, Congress is realizing probably that they just are teetering on this issue here and need to be careful. But also, less rights than men? Tell you what, I'm going to go ask for an abortion tomorrow and see if they'll give me one. We'll check and see. See if I still have that right while she does not. How about Ali Samarco? By the way, we're not even covering the Stop the Steal movement, which is gaining some traction on X right now. And by Stop the Steal, I mean the Democrat version of Stop the Steal, which is not making it really into the mainstream. There is a clip of Rachel Maddow going around a lot. And just to clarify, if Trump would have lost, we'd be dealing with a very big mainstream Stop the Steal movement right now. But there is one that is getting millions and millions of views and thousands, tens of thousands of retweets every time they get posted talking about vote totals. But we're not even covering that this week. We got to push that off to next week and see what happens. Ali Samarco says, white men without college degrees are going to ruin this country. Someone responds and says, actually, they built the country. And she responds and says, no, slaves did. Slaves built this country. White men without college degrees are going to ruin this country. And I guess white women also are going to ruin the country. Basically, it's white people. And we'll show plenty of videos talking about this later on. This one I'm going to go back to. We're going to switch to some videos. This concerns the suicide. What do you call the groups on Reddit? I don't know what you call them. Subreddit. I don't know what they're called. I don't do Reddit. I've never figured it out. This is the Suicide Watch one, and it's dumb, and it's also sad and very dangerous. And we need to talk about how we got here because no one should be considering suicide because of this. Let's get into some videos, though. This should be fun. We'll start with one of my favorites. Probably could have closed with it, but we've got so much stuff to go through, it doesn't matter. And that is Mr. Jimmy Kimmel getting choked up. He's getting choked up. This is, as I've said several times, one of my biggest motivations this year for wanting Trump to win was honestly for the people, for certain people to lose, to realize that what they were doing didn't work. And that might be an emotional, terrible way to think about things. But it happened. It did happen. And this is one of them. That's the point. Here's your 48 seconds of Jimmy Kimmel trying to not cry.
Let's be honest, it was a terrible night last night. It was a terrible night for women, for children, for the hundreds of thousands of hardworking immigrants who make this country go, for healthcare, for our climate, for science, for journalism, for justice, for free speech. It was a terrible night for poor people, for the middle class, for seniors who rely on Social Security, for our allies in Ukraine, for NATO, for the truth. and democracy and decency. And it was a terrible night for everyone who voted against him. And guess what? It was a bad night for everyone who voted for him, too. You just don't realize it yet. And most of
All right, so there's that. He goes through a long list of people it was a terrible night for. That has yet to be seen. He even says that the people who voted for Trump, it was a terrible night for them, too. That we'll end up seeing. We're going to see what he does. We're going to see how the next 4 years go. He gets choked up, really, when it comes to immigrants. And then he kind of breaks down again when he talks about NATO and Ukraine. I don't think we're going to withdraw from NATO, by the way. Just a point on this. What happened with Trump and NATO, the guy does speak from negotiation all the time, okay? And this whole yeah, maybe we'll withdraw from NATO. You have to negotiate from that position when you're coming in and saying, you guys are all supposed to be putting in a specific percentage of your GDP, and you're actually underpaying. And we're overpaying towards this compared to all of you guys. And you know what? We might just drop out. And to me, that's a negotiation, okay? I don't think Trump's going to get out of NATO. Would I like him to? I would like him to. I don't think he's going to. I think he will use words like that as a way to negotiate with these people. And as Jake said earlier, it is sad to see Jimmy Kimmel go from this, from the Man Show, which I used to watch a lot growing up. It's sad to see him go from the Man Show to this sad, pathetic shill for the bureaucracy, for whatever it is that he stands for, everything in the establishment that there could possibly be. It is really sad. It makes me want to go back and watch the Man Show, because it was a fun show. I don't know if any of you guys used to watch it, but it was pretty good stuff. How about let's see, AOC's got a minute here. She's talking about how we're about to see fascism. By the way, on this podcast, for years now, we've been saying our system of government closely resembles fascism already, and it has since the early 1900s. That's where, now you take out the nationalism or the racism and stuff like that. It's more, I guess, like a Mussolini fascism type thing where, not saying there was any nationalism or racism in that, but you get to have private property, but the government controls it. And we've sort of been in that system for a long time. And so what I get annoyed is the denial of that and acting like there's a unique threat from the right that doesn't exist from the left. And so let's go here. Yeah, Woodrow Wilson, totally agree. That's where I think it started. Even though we had some things like we had now it's slipping my mind. Antitrust. Yeah, sorry, antitrust. We had that before Woodrow Wilson, but I think he really started it. And of course, I mean, look what the things FDR did. My God. But anyway, now we're going to go towards fascism.
We are about to enter a political period that will have consequences for the rest of our lives. We cannot give up. We now find ourselves in a time in history that has precedent, and we find ourselves, I believe, in a time where there are, let's say, peers in history of mass movements of people that mobilize to protect one another in times of fascism and authoritarianism. And this is the era that we are poised to enter. Donald Trump has talked about turning the military on U.S. citizens that he deems his domestic political enemies. Authoritarians and people that he affiliates closely with and strongmen abroad, in regimes like that, it is not uncommon to jail political dissidents or legislative opponents. This is the world that we very realistically may be entering.
So we might be entering a time where people jail political opponents. By the way, Donald Trump's sentencing is next week or the week after. I can't remember which one that is. New York is still pushing with that. Yeah, it's ignoring all. By the way, newsflash. Let me just go ahead and tell you what's going to happen if Donald Trump governs like libertarians hope he does, like promise it follows through on a few of the promises, a few of the things. They'll say that it's fascism happening. Like when he gets rid of the Department of Education, they're going to call that a dictatorship, authoritarian, fascist move. If he does that, I'm not solid on that happening. If he does that, that'll be fascism. If he does any just normal stuff, just any kind of normal conservative stuff, they're not going to, if we don't get a bunch of political opponents jailed, if we still have an election in 2028, if he doesn't use the military on his enemies within, people who don't support him, they're not going to say, okay, I was wrong about the fascism. We were wrong about the authoritarian dictatorship. They're going to use every single little thing that's just like a normal ass Republican thing to do, or especially if he does any of the libertarian promises, if he cuts the bureaucratic state, the deep state, in 10% of the way that he has talked about doing, they're going to call it fascism. So just be ready for that. I'm warning you right now. That will, and by the way, if a libertarian was in that position, they would also call it fascism every time they did something libertarian. Let's go to some media cope, and don't worry, I have a whole tab here full of freakouts from TikTok and Instagram and all that we will be closing with. So we will get to all of the freakouts. Let's see some of the. I'm going to skip over this one here. We got a couple things from The View, if you can imagine. This is the if we could regulate social media. I got to do my due diligence and say this is a 15-second clip. It does not have any proposed community notes on it, which I'd be able to see. So no one has tried to community note this with 2.4 million views. But it's them saying that we should be able to regulate social media to fix this problem.
Think critically. Well, it would help if we could regulate social media, because one of the biggest offenders is D.C. and Congress have not been able to do one thing in regard to the rogue corporations of social media.
It's not going to get any better with Elon Musk now in the administration. I want.
All right, so there's that 15-second clip. What I mean by pointing out it's a 15-second clip is that I don't know what happened right afterwards. Maybe someone said, oh, no, we can't do that. That would be regulating free speech. And by the way, the Democrats got every benefit from social media they possibly could in 2020, and you guys weren't wanting to regulate them out of existence at that time or control what they were doing because they did everything they could to try and help Joe Biden win in 2020. And so this is super hypocritical. For all we know, that occurred right after this clip. But assuming it didn't occur right after this clip, then that's pretty dumb. Let's see. Any more media stuff? Here's Sunny Hostin right here. Let's see what she has to say.
We know now that he will have almost unfettered power. And so I worry, not about myself, actually. I don't worry about my station in life. I worry about the working class. I worry about my mother, a retired teacher. I worry about our elderly and their Social Security and their Medicare. I worry about my children's future, especially my daughter, who now has less rights than I have. And I remember my father telling me many, many years ago that I was the first person in his family to enjoy full civil rights. And now I have less civil rights than I had when he told me that.
Okay. All right. There we go. Fewer civil rights than when that was mentioned. She's worried about retired teachers also, by the way. That's something I'm worried about as well, because the teachers, when they retire, go on to a government pension program that promises people a lot of money they don't have, and they end up having to get bailed out. And maybe they should do a better job managing those pension funds. But if the market does really well, then they're going to end up doing better also. So that's something to consider. People on Social Security, like Jimmy Kimmel also mentioned earlier, Social Security's got until like 2030. We have to do something about it. There's no other option to not do something about it. That's pretty ridiculous. And he's going to have unfettered power, of course, which is what she started with. And this is really going to have to be our message to people. And we tried this. We tried, and I hope it sticks a little bit better this time than it did last time Trump was in power. The people on the left, if you're worried about the powers that Donald Trump has, then you should try to work towards taking away powers from the president and from the government in general. They do a lot of things that they should not do. And people on the right who are going to be totally fine for the next 4 years with the things that the government does need to remember that, for all you know, Gavin Newsom is going to take over those powers in 2028, or whoever, Michelle Obama, or whoever's going to end up running in 2028, not to start that speculation already. The same things you were fine with Trump doing 2016 to 2020, Joe Biden had those powers and then expanded on them. And so what I hope is that for the first time ever in the history of first time evers, a president gets in power and reduces the powers that the government has. I'm not going to hold my breath on that one, but that is definitely what should happen. So we'll see. It's not super typical that someone in power does things to reduce their power. I'm going to, what does Claire McCaskill have to say? Claire McCaskill, I believe, from what, Missouri? Is that where she's from? Let's hear what she has to say.
I mean, in that mission and that purpose, Claire McCaskill will determine. You okay?
I think I'm okay.
Tell me what you're thinking.
Well, I'm so proud. I'm so proud of her. I don't think people realize how hard it is to get to where she was. As a woman, getting elected DA, it's not easy, guys. People don't trust women to be in charge of making decisions about life and death and crime and being, frankly, a supervisor in some ways over police. Her fighting through the primary thicket of California politics to become Attorney General, really hard. I mean, this is really hard stuff. For her to be selected as vice president after what I think she would tell you was a very disappointing presidential race, where I think she kind of lost her footing and was listening too much to consultants, frankly, and it didn't really exude who she was. And then to be vice president and to step into the most difficult situation in the world, where she had to be completely loyal to Joe Biden and respectful of the fact that he had chosen her, but yet maneuver in a situation. I mean, such political skill. It is just inspiring. People who don't understand what she had to do to get to this moment. Mm-hmm. And so I'm just very proud of her.
Guys, I don't want to be mean or anything, but I honestly believe the only reason she made it to this point is because she's black and a woman. There are serious stories and allegations of the way that she made it to the top there in California. And then to make it to vice president, like, that was some hard, massive feat for her. She got there because she is a black woman. And that, I mean, Joe Biden said he was going to pick a black woman, so that list was whittled down quite a bit. And so I don't know if that was especially hard for her to get there. And then, I don't like this complaining about being put in this position where she had to stick with Joe Biden. She could have had a way better shot if she would have broken from Joe. But if she would have had some of her own convictions, some of her own ideas and beliefs and values and ideals and all these things, she didn't have anything. She was an empty vessel. She was a chameleon, a shapeshifter, all of these things. She had several moments where she could have said, you know, when they asked her, is there anything you would have done differently? There's not one thing. Couldn't think of anything. Not at all. You couldn't even come out and say, well, you know, I think there's a lot of things, we did good things, but I think that we should have gone harder. We should have done it better. We should have done this. You know, we could have made it way better. And these are the ways I'm going to make it a lot better for people. She could not break from Joe Biden, one of the least popular presidents we've ever had. There's just no way for her to do that. That's on you guys. All right. And that's on her for not being a real person. You think Trump listens to his consultant class? His advisors and consultants that tell him exactly what to say all the time? No, I think a lot of times he's stepped in it because he doesn't pay attention to those things. For better or worse, he's just not someone who does that. And she could have done that. She could have been a real person with flaws and problems and not put up this fake facade and tried to pass it by everyone who could see right through it. She could have done that if she truly wanted to win. Here's Juan Williams on Fox. I was lucky enough to catch this live that night when I went home. I left Fox on, and I caught this exchange. I might let it roll for a couple minutes because I was shocked they went here this quickly. I don't watch a lot of Juan Williams, but I was kind of shocked it went here this quick.
The size of this mandate, as you call it. I think that there is even recriminations now among Democrats as to Biden and whether Biden should have dropped out earlier or Biden should have stayed. Would a white male have done better? Obviously, Trump has defeated 2 women and now a black woman. So there's all of these questions. But to my mind, it seems to me incredible that a guy who led a insurrection against the United States government is potentially now, you know, like a phoenix going back into the Oval Office. It's unbelievable.
Well, you have to consider the fact, Juan, that a lot of people didn't think that was an insurrection. They thought it was a riot, but not an insurrection. And had they thought it was really an insurrection, I don't think he could have won.
Well, I don't know.
The exaggerations about that day.
Well, I'm not exaggerating.
About the alleged threat to democracy is a piece of what happened tonight is.
Well, I don't think so. I think, again, I'm giving you my perspective.
Yeah. And I'm giving you mine.
Right. So I listened to you as my friend. But I'm going to tell you what I saw was not only a riot in terms of the violence, but a direct action intended to stop certification of a presidential election.
Understood. And we've talked a lot about it.
That's why I said that.
And we've talked a lot about it. And the campaign,
very clearly. I'm not trying to hype anything.
The campaign ran a lot of ads about it, talked a lot about it, and more, you know, half the country now, Juan, is going to say, that is not what I care about. I care about my economy. I care about immigration.
No, see, that's where we differ. I'm not sold on this idea that, it was the cost of eggs. I worry that it was, I'm not voting for this woman, or I'm not voting for this black woman.
I don't know. That's not what we see in our data.
Well, here's the thing. Where do you see that? Because a moment ago, Darren was at.
All right, so we got that. He lists off. It's kind of funny how they can't. What I noticed a lot that night was that they couldn't stop. They couldn't get out of campaign mode, and they still are trying to make the case for the Jan 6 thing and the insurrection thing and all the other stuff that there are. And they're still trying to make the case as if they're still in a campaign. And the thing about the insurrection, I say this every single time. We were live on January 6th. We had the news rolling. We were covering it as it happened. I thought it was stupid what people did. I didn't think it was beneficial or positive for anyone at all. And I think it gave the left a lot to work with. And there was nothing that was going to come out of it. You know, there was nothing. What were we going to do? I mean, there was no positive outcome of that happening. But it wasn't an attempted insurrection by Donald Trump. Like, you can separate those things out. And as we said numerous times, insurrection is a crime. There's a criminal code. Trump was charged with is it 94 crimes? I think it's 94. He was convicted on 34 felonies. Still had a bunch of charges and stuff out there. Not a one of them was insurrection. Not one. And they kept running with this whole idea that it was an insurrection, even when, if there was any way you could legally make the case for insurrection, it would have been done. They finagled the legal system in a way to apply felonies to turn misdemeanors past the statute of limitations in the felonies. Someone would have found a way to charge him with insurrection. And by the way, insurrection, I believe, actually would have kept him from being able to run. But they didn't do that because they can't make the legal case for it, which means you should stop using it as an argument. And then he says, I don't believe that it was the price of eggs, even though that's, I mean, they got exit polls. The exit polls covered 23,000 people. It was the economy. That's what it was. And I don't know that Trump has any specific plans that are going to help the economy, except for if he does do big things to hurt the regulatory state. I think that'll help a lot for sure. But it was the economy, and people ended up trusting Trump more than Harris on the economy. People experienced 21% cumulative inflation while Biden was in office. Some of that started by the CARES Act, gasoline thrown on the fire by the American Rescue Plan. And they were sick of it, and they were trying to get back to what their lives felt like when Trump was the president. And that was it. Charlie called it over a year ago that people were just going to want to go back to when the economy felt safe for people. And so, yes, that's why people voted. And now there's a nice scapegoat here that she's a black woman, which he ends up saying, like, I think that that's the problem. And that really sets up the next 4 years and all the claims of racism very nicely, by the way. You guys know we haven't had a race riot in 4 years. That's pretty crazy, right? Still had 50 unarmed black people killed by police over the last 4 years. I haven't had any riots at all. So that's interesting. But we're set back up for this racism narrative because Trump, first off, beat a white woman, and now he's beat a black woman, and the country's racist, and he's racist, and all that. And that's why they didn't vote for her. It wasn't any of her terrible policies that she had, or lack of policies, lack of convictions and values, or anything like that. That's all it was. So let's move on. We got more. We still had all the freakouts. I still have a whole tab of freakouts here. But let's have one more person tell us yet again that it was race and gender.
I'm surprised at the result,
Sunny Hostin.
but I'm not surprised. As a woman of color, I was so hopeful that a mixed race woman married to a Jewish guy could be elected president of this country. And I think that it had nothing to do with policy. I think this was a referendum of cultural resentment in this country.
Cultural resentment in this country. That's what Sunny says. I brought in this video from Justin Jones. If you don't know who Justin Jones is, he's a state rep from Tennessee. He is my state rep. I originally wasn't going to go vote. The first day I decided, okay, I'm actually going to take the time and go to the voting booth and vote, because I hadn't decided it was worth my time to do so yet, was when he sent something to my house telling me to go vote for him. And that day, I decided I am going to go vote. I am going to go vote against this guy because he's batshit crazy. He's one of the guys with the megaphone shutting down the Tennessee state legislature. If you guys remember the Tennessee 2 and the people getting expelled and all that kind of stuff. He's one of those guys. And of course, he's talking about fascism and racism in America. We have enough videos to go through. So let's talk about this girl who thinks that white women or people should wear bracelets to indicate that they didn't vote for Trump or that they voted for Kamala. He did not lose his race. He won it. He won it just fine. My district is, heavily left leaning. So there really wasn't any chance he was going to lose, unfortunately, but I did have to go register a vote against him. And before I ever thought about I'm actually going to go vote for Trump, the day I was like, I'm not voting. I told my wife that day, I'm not voting this year. It's when I got the thing in the mailbox from him. I said, okay, I'm voting. And once I decided I was voting, then I made other decisions after that. This white lady. Wait, is her name Karen? It says Karen T. Is her name actually Karen? Now that's something.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is there's a blue bracelet that we need to wear because I want to make sure that nobody ever thinks that I am one of the apparently majority of white women who voted for Donald Trump. I do not want you ever to think that I was one of them. So, is there a particular bracelet? Do we just make it ourselves? Let me know. Send me a link. What do we do? Where do I get said bracelet, or am I just making it myself? Thank God I hadn't posted this yet. Is there a black woman-owned company that we can get these bracelets from? Because, honey, we owe them. We owe them big.
I hadn't seen that
part. Okay, so what I'm hearing...
I hadn't actually watched the whole video yet. That was my first time hearing her cut back in and ask if there was a black-owned business she could buy the bracelets from. That's fine, except anyone can wear the bracelets if you want. And also, God. I gotta get to the freakouts, and then we'll give a final thing. Here's a black woman talking about how white women are the problem. Let's play that.
Make a few comments about last night. First of all, the result definitely was not what I wanted it to be. It is what it is. But I want to say something regarding the outcome. Black women, as we always do, stood by everybody. We always are on the side of right. And black men did the same thing. I mean, almost 80% stood with VP Harris. Almost 80% stood by what was right. The problem, once again, like it was in 2016, was white women. And while we all, myself included, thought Republican white women would go in and vote for what was right, Democratic white women clearly went in and voted for what was wrong. And this is not something that black women can fix. There aren't enough of us. There aren't enough of us to make this country do what is right. This is a white woman problem. Not all white women, but a majority of white women. They don't want to give up that white privilege. They don't want to give up what they see as proximity to power. And they damn sure didn't want to see a black woman ascend to the highest office in this country. Now, I said what I said. You don't have to agree with me.
All right, that's good. That's good, because I don't. What if you're wrong? What if black women don't always vote for what's right? But what if they voted based on the fact that it was a black woman and didn't care anything about policies whatsoever? What if, and I'm sorry, excuse me if you'll pardon me, for some reason, statistically, black women seem to care way more about abortion as a percentage than white women do, because as a percentage, it is much higher. And that's what they were actually voting for. So a lot of questions there, but You know what? My main response to this, because I did repost this video, was just keep doing this. You know? See how it works out for you. Let's just keep hearing narratives just like this. Let's have a racial reckoning. Let's just completely divide up the groups even more. It seems like it's working out really well. And, you know, for the other side. It's working out really well for the other side. And so let's just keep doing this idea and learn nothing whatsoever from this election. That's not too bad of an idea. How about we get to some of the crazy freakouts? There is a movement. Now this one is a marriage off the table. There's another movement of not having sex. And if you'll excuse my language. There's a movement of that as well, and I'm sure we'll get to some videos on that. But here's one: marriage is off the table, from this woman right here, which I'm sure she's fighting people off. So
this is all prank, right? Like we're just gonna wake up tomorrow morning and everything's gonna go back to the way it'll be a psych. It'll be like a really bad dream, and none of this will have ever happened, right? Like it'll be like the first time, and then we're all gonna pull through fine in 4 years. Correct? Please, someone tell me. I can tell you one thing right now, marriage is the farthest thing from on the table currently. So they screwed the pooch on that one if they thought that any of this was going to actually help with the whole family and kids department and lowering birth rates, because that, not even any semblance of thoughts I had or hope for that is completely going to be a no thanks for me, love. Do you think I would ever even dare bring a child into this country now? It was rough before. Now? No. That's cute. And the men, don't even get me started about dating. To think I was still entertaining a few moderates here and there sometimes. No, honey, no. Not even close. That's never goodbye.
You know, I think it's good for people to come out and say stuff like this. This idea, was it Bailey who just said in the group, like they literally don't get it. People, or Magoo said this, actually, women closing their legs is really going to own the pro-life crowd. It's impossible for that. They don't understand. No one's going to be super hurt if you decide not to marry anyone and decide not to have any kids. I'm sorry. They're just not. In fact, that could be a positive outcome for the rest of us. So keep that in mind. And if you're only going to be dating extreme leftists or whatever, that's fine. Marriage is off the table. Okay, whatever. I just think it's good that you put this out here in the open so people can make their own decisions. And I'm glad. I'm glad that some people are doing this. That's just an early freak out here. There is this lady who decided to assault a couple black people that were carrying Trump signs. This is from a body cam and then a newscast about it from ABC. And so we'll see from this old white woman who assaulted a couple black ladies who were holding Trump signs because they were black and holding Trump signs specifically.
I want to know why you're voting for Trump. That's the only reason I want to know. That's the only thing. And I said because you're brown skinned.
Gina Powell says she was on the receiving end of that. She told me she'd never seen the 82-year-old until she was in her face.
I was just shocked that just the presence of me, and she made it very clear it was my skin color.
Gina was with her friend Mary Jennings doing this, supporting Donald Trump, waving flags and signs, when she said the woman confronted her over her political beliefs and race.
And then that's when she shoved me, pushed me back, and I said, don't touch me. And then, not even a second, she just popped me right in my chin.
Here's how the woman arrested, who hasn't been charged, described it to police.
Was to push her away, and I put my hand to her chin.
And that's when Mary stepped in.
She punched me, but she connected and, it slammed my jaw shut.
Both women are physically okay, but it's been an emotional toll.
Well, I haven't, wow, to start. I haven't been able to work yet. I'm still kind of in shock.
Edmonds police say they have established probable cause for a hate crime arrest.
All right, hate crime. I don't know about that. Don't believe in hate crimes. Should be the same kind of crime. Any kind of assault that occurs should be an assault, and it shouldn't matter what color the people are. This is a crazy old white lady who attacked these two people. I said that they were two black women. Let's just, that's unclear. Let's say that they were people of color. Because they were people of color, whatever specific race or ethnicity they were, and that they were supporting Trump. And this white lady thinks that she knows better than they do what is best for them, and ended up attacking them because they are people of color to fight racism. So there's that. This is a little compilation, a short compilation here from Brad Palumbo. I think we have a few freakouts in this one. I'm sorry about all the screaming and yelling and crying that's about to occur. But it did occur, and so we must watch it. And this is in response to a presidential election.
What the fuck? Bitch! You what the hell?
I do agree that some of these are so crazy that they could be fake.
I'm sorry. No! Why? Why? Do you really hate me that bad?
Yikes. We'll talk about this here at the very end, but WTF. It's an election. There's a lady here. This is kind of funny. It takes this a 3-minute video. We won't watch the whole thing. I did think it was really funny. She's going to shave her head to make this big point, and she can't figure out how. But it says opting out 4B. Hey, can I ask someone in the group, because I'm not up with the trends, what does 4B stand for? I know the movement. I know what the movement is. Does 4B have a South Korean movement? Is that true? I don't know. I don't know what 4B is really, but I've seen 4B a lot. I'm also not up on what that stands for specifically. But here we go.
I think this is it's getting here. Let's see here. Maybe I gotta cut it. Here we go. Have I given up on America? I've also given up on coloring this hair because, right? Fuck coloring my hair. Fuck having my hair be long and luxurious. Fuck all that shit. Fuck being skinny. Fuck being hot. Fuck being all the things that the patriarchy wants us to be. Because clearly, they don't give a shit about us. And I'm talking to you too. Those of you ladies who have the internalized misogyny required to do what you did. Minorities who are so scared of a woman in power that you'd rather cozy up to the white man just in case some crumbs fall off his plate so that you may eat from them. Yes, scraps. I don't know how to work this thing, but I'm on my way. I'm gonna figure it out. Let's just do some cutting. You know why? Because this is taking too long. Here we go. Short hair we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. We're cutting it off because fuck you. That's why. You think I'm crazy? Me too. I'm crazy. Just like all the women before me who were crazy. So fucking crazy. You know what? It's been a day. It's been a year. It's been
9 years, 8 years, whatever it may be. Around this time, 8 years ago, was one of the worst times of my life. That's when my life fell apart. Not because of this. Don't get too excited. I'm just talking about regular life stuff I talk about on here. But
Okay, so she couldn't figure out how to work the trimmer, so that's kind of hilarious to start off with. That's pretty good. She's doing this to hurt the patriarchy, I guess. And I don't know about you guys, all the guys out there watching right now, but I am sad. She really got me. She got me so bad. And I know you guys in the group are feeling it too. You feel the loss, right? Don't you feel that loss? Yeah, I got the double on there. Sorry. I hit the wrong button. I feel the loss of this girl's hair. It's different. When I woke up this morning, it was like this energy just gone that had been removed from my life, except for the fact that I have my own wife who's got her own beautiful flowing hair, and I don't give two shits what this girl does at all. Let's move on. But I mean, can we not forget the fact that she couldn't figure out how to work the trimmer? But anyway, I have not watched this one. I saw it posted a couple times. It's got a 4B, 5B, 6B, 7, whatever. That could just be from the repost. I don't know what all that means, but I've seen this one. Let's see.
I would go as far to say that I would purchase a Glock, and if you and I are walking on the same street
Thanks,
and
Jake.
it's dark out and you're a white male, you have to be white for this to count, okay? If you're a white male, even if you don't approach me, I will shoot you. Yeah, I know. So, has to be on the street, you and I, has to be at nighttime. During the day, not so much, but at nighttime, okay? And you have to have very white skin. And
I mean, that's got to be a troll, right? There's no way that's an actual leftist person posting her threat to kill white people. That needs to be a troll. But I know it's not a troll. This guy right here, who's also great, Mr. Leonard Serrato. Let's see what he has to say.
I'm done crying. My sadness is over. My anger has set in. I am a very petty person, and I am very proud of that. Love it about myself, actually. And so I say this in the most disrespectful way possible. I don't care if you are my family. I don't care if you're my friend. I don't care if we've been friends our entire lives. You can literally go fuck yourself if you voted for Donald Trump. If you are so sad about your groceries being expensive, get a better fucking paying job. Do better in life. Get a fucking education. Do something. Because you are fucking stupid. And I hope you go jump off of a fucking bridge.
Harsh. That's harsh. Yeah, the part, thank you, Clark. That was my favorite part of this video. Before that, it's just really a normal freak out that a lot of people are going through. By the way, Charlie has family members that have actually blocked his number. Maybe we'll talk about that later. But if you're so worried about the price of groceries, just go get a better job. Are you kidding me? Is that what we move? People who were worried about the economy and their ability to pay for goods. You're worried about your position in life and you can't afford groceries and rent and all of these things. The answer from this lefty guy is go get a better job. Are you kidding me? What? What is happening? I hope this self-destruction is learn the code, stop being poor. It's so good. Okay, we've got a clip here from the, is this the Daily Show when it's not with Jon Stewart? I don't know who this is. I need someone to send me a funny female comedian. I agree with you that they probably exist. But what's extra bad about this is she's trying to be real and say things that sound like they're off the cuff. You can tell she's reading from her teleprompter, which is, I assume is why she liked Kamala Harris so much. But it's so fake and disingenuous and also terrible, and the timing is horrible, and whoever wrote it sucks. But here is her freak out.
I slept 2 hours last night and I feel like shit, but here we are. Let's get right into it with Indecision 2024. Decision edition. Is it too late to undecide? Well, if you're just joining me in this waking nightmare, yesterday was Election Day. We were all hoping it would make history, and boy, did it ever.
Mr. Trump made history last night. He will be the first convicted felon to be president of the United States.
Official, America's elected its first criminal president before electing its first female president. What a day for proud felonists. What the actual America? We have had 2 qualified, accomplished women nominated for president, and both times they lost to the worst man in the whole country. It's starting to feel like we're going to get every other first before we get a first woman president.
All right, I'm not going to go any further into this. No point in doing that. There are a couple stupid points she made, and like a couple people in the group have pointed out. And someone who's been good on this has been Nina Turner, who, used to make Dumb Bleep of the Week all the time. She's been good on this. She's been saying to stop using the convicted felon thing against Donald Trump because she fights for convicted felons to have the same rights as anyone else, which is a fairly libertarian thing to do, especially when it's trumped up charges, if you want to use that term. And so that's a really stupid point to make for people. 2 qualified female candidates, 2 very good qualified female candidates, and they were both beaten by Donald Trump. And, I guess we're supposed to excuse all the terrible, terrible, awful things about Hillary Clinton. And, I don't want to do that, but women can do that if they would like to do that because she's a woman or because she has some of the same beliefs as them. And then Kamala Harris, who I guess technically qualified given the fact she's vice president right now, but she only got that job because she is a black woman. And so doesn't make her super qualified. And I see some links coming in through the group here with some funny female comedians, and I'm going to watch them because I need to hear them. I need it for my opinions on things. I need to actually hear this. We've gone like an hour and 15 minutes now. There's a 15-second video. Costco put this one in earlier. Now, I do have to preface this. This has been reposted by the Midas Touch channel, another channel that I'm just glad that they lost, like what they wanted to happen lost. Same thing with Kamala HQ and the Lincoln Project and all these people. Like, I'm so glad that they put everything they had into this, every resource at their disposal they put into this, and they lost. And the Midas Touch channel is one of those that I'm very, very happy that they lost. Reason I point out that it was posted by them is that this video actually came out in 2022 after the Roe versus Wade ruling. This is not something they just made because of this election, but it's 15 seconds and it goes through the leaders, these leaders of Belgium, Finland, and what's the third country that they go through? Maybe, I guess we'll figure it out when we watch the video. And it's talking about Norway. That's the other one. Thank you. And it's saying, "Dear American sisters, we stand with you." And each one of them, it's these different leaders from these countries. And then we'll talk about what's so dumb about it and what's so disingenuous and fake about what this entire election was built on. And so here's this video. It says, Dear American sisters, and it's all these women standing in a V. The Belgian people are with you. You're not alone, American sisters. The Norway Parliament stands with you. American sisters, you're not alone. The Finnish Parliament stands with you. And that's it. And so that's great. Except for, why don't we do this? Why don't we do this? Why don't we just enact the abortion restrictions from those countries, since those people stand with the very sad and the very sad women of America who have no rights left. What I think we should do is let's just give in. Let's adopt the abortion policies of those countries, because one of them has a 12-week ban, one of them has an 11-week ban, and one of them has a 14-week ban. And the case that overturned, the Dobbs case that overturned Roe versus Wade, was a 16-week ban on abortion. And they ruled that they could do that. But the three countries who stand with the American sisters, who are not alone, have abortion restrictions that if Donald Trump were to try to put them in place, or the American Congress were to put them in place, they would all think is just pure Hitlerian fascism. If it were to happen, like, they're standing with them, but the people they're talking to would never accept those restrictions that those people have in their countries. And that's just how fake this entire movement is. Like a bunch of the countries in Europe have restrictions set around 12 to 16 to 18 weeks. And it was a 16-week ban, the Dobbs decision, that overturned Roe versus Wade. And that's just how far they want absolutely no restrictions whatsoever. We can talk about whether or not there should be some, whether it should be at viability or whatever, but these aren't countries with 30-week restrictions or whatever it is. They would be considered very restrictive by the people in this country, except for that they're doing this little virtue signal TikTok thing where they're saying that they stand with you. And you would never accept the laws that they have in their country. Not really. You would have to, but you wouldn't really accept them. That brings me to the last thing I wanted to talk about here, which is the Suicide Watch page on Reddit. Now, this could be people just posting things to try and be crazy, of course. But I also believe there are people who feel this way as well. This person said, "It's decided I will be killing myself before I'm 20. This fascist country will be the cause of it. I fear for my future, not only as a queer person who already has to keep my identity in the closet, but as an autistic, neurodivergent individual as well. They will stigmatize people like us even more." Yeah, I'm sure Elon Musk is going to get right on that. "If I cannot legally be defined as human under this Trump dictatorship, then I choose not to live at all. I've been suicidal for so long, and really the one thing that I was hopeful for this year was people taking a stand against this deranged fascist. Now it's too late. I voted. I tried. The people who let this happen are the single most repulsive group of people I've ever seen, and I would rather die than watch them make the decisions for the next 4 years. If we even have elections at that point, this is the precursor to when I finally say goodbye. I'm sorry." This person says, "This world is hell. I'm done. I'm not living through this. The world isn't worth living. I had some amount of hope people would make the only rational choice for this election, and they didn't. So many people will die. So many people will suffer, all because people have voted for an effing fascist. I don't want to live in a fascist country. I'm not effing doing it. I'm not watching the people I love die. I'm not watching innocent people suffer at the hands of these effing monsters. Let's see. No reason to live anymore. No hope for a better future. Things will only get worse. It's impossible for anything to ever improve. All life is just watching shit get worse and worse and worse, never improving. So on, so on, so on." So I don't want either one of those people to kill themselves. And the dumb is not for them. You have been lied to. You have paid too much attention to what the media has been telling you so they could get clicks and so they could get one specific person elected. It's my belief they wanted to get that one specific person elected because that person was just going to be a puppet for the people who are actually running this country right now. And that sounds crazy, but I don't think Joe Biden's actually running the country right now. I think it's a bunch of bureaucrats, and those bureaucrats were running for re-election. And all this talk about fascism and Hitler and all that stuff were based on out of context clips and things that were just purely made up. And I do feel sorry for people who actually took this so seriously that they would be suicidal, or some of the people who are legitimately screaming and crying in some of these videos, if they are legitimate. Well, we can laugh at them and all that. I don't want to laugh at anyone who's saying they're going to kill themselves, but they've been lied to. And so the dumb right here goes to the media that has just blatantly, unabashedly lied to people over and over again so they could try and push this into one single outcome. They went so far with the rhetoric in this election cycle that people are actually saying life isn't worth living anymore, assuming these things are all true. These do sound legitimate. And that's on them. That's on the people in the media. Now it's also on people to be able to see through things. But there are a lot of vulnerable people who take all this stuff seriously and have a tough time in their lives and get sucked into one specific ecosystem on social media and all that, and they take all these things very seriously. So I, damn the media for doing this to people, and the people on social media and all the hyperbole and all the lies where we couldn't just talk about actual policies. We couldn't have a legitimate debate. The biggest debate over this should have been about whether or not we wanted to have price controls and price gouging, or if we wanted to have tariffs, because those were the most substantial things we were talking about, or whether or not we wanted to try and end the Ukraine war through some kind of a peace deal, or if we wanted to just keep funding it and wait and see what happens, or if we wanted to broker some kind of a peace deal in the Middle East. Those are the conversations that the media should have been pushing this entire time, because those were the actual only substantive issues of this election. Everything else was made up, and they have screwed up a lot of people's lives. And it's downright disgusting what they were able to do to some people. And that's why I wanted them to lose so bad. I actually think it's very important for the country and for the future that those people saw that that was a losing thing to do. And where do we go from here even? How do you have worse hyperbole than what we had in this election cycle? What do you do? They sold out on this. They thought it was going to work. They totally sold out. They planned on Kamala winning and saying, see, look, we prevented Hitler. Look how bad it would have been if Trump came in the office. They totally sold out on that, thought it was going to work. But what do they do next time around? Because there will be a next time. There will be another election. If I'm wrong about that, it doesn't matter. We probably won't have a show anymore. But there will be another election, and they're going to have to tell everyone again. They're either going to say, well, this guy's Hitler, or this girl's Hitler, whoever it is. They're Hitler. Can't you tell? They're going to do this, this, and this. Oh, they didn't do it in the last 4 years, but they're going to do it this time, and this will be the last election you've ever seen. And they're going to do it again. Or we'll actually have to talk about the real issues of the campaign and what the actual policies of these people are. And that's what I hope we actually move towards after this election. Because all this stuff is freaking toxic for everyone. And they shouldn't get away with doing it. I have no clue how to do the voting for this week. I don't even know what to vote on. I don't even know what the numbers are. Did anyone in the group see something that was specifically dumb that stood out from the other things? We got media as a submission, liberal media in general. That can be number one right there, liberal media. Jake, I think he said he was dropping out. His vote was for Juan Williams, I believe. So we have Juan. I think that's how you would wait. That's not it. One of those is right. Everything is dumb. We've got, the 4B movement as well. We got the lady who cut her hair. We got the liberal media in general. Juan Williams. You can kind of see those submissions through there if you're hanging out in the chat right now and giving some thumbs up. And you can vote. You can vote on what people have thrown in as names for the submissions right now. So you can kind of see them up above and throw in some thumbs up on those things. A little bit different than we normally do, for sure. That was way too difficult to organize into numbers this week. Just couldn't do it. While people are going up through this list and they're voting, I'll tell you guys, join the Fed Haters Club. Coming up here soon, we're going to be doing a thing at least once a week where we open up the last 15 minutes of the show for people to request to speak, like you're on a Twitter space or something like that. And so you can join, you can request to speak, and we'll try and get through all the people that want to speak if they want to. And so you can do that in the Fed Haters Club. You can join that by going to joingml.com. You can hang out with all the fine people in the Fed Haters Club. Okay. That is where all the cool kids are. Totally right about that. And it's a growing group. Got a nice little core group of people who hang out with us for every show. Been hanging out with them for a long time. And it's $7 a month. Okay. That's, think of all the things that you spend $7 on in a month. One of those $7 could help us continue doing this show forever. If you just come and join. And there's other tiers as well. If you want to be a real libertarian, you can do that. You can make yourself a real libertarian, lifetime membership. Okay, which is actually a really, really good deal considering we've been doing this for like 5 years. And you break that out in $7 a month. The real libertarian tier is a really good deal if you plan on hanging around for a long time. So let's go up through here, see what the heck these votes are. Of course, we got a bunch of random messages through here, so I kind of got to go scroll through them. What is it that actually ended up winning? If anyone else wants to throw a vote in, way less votes than people hanging out right now. It is in the actual message, not the Dumb Bleep of the Week voting channel, by the way. Oh, wait. Did someone throw it in on Dumb Bleep of the Week vote? Let me see. Sorry, if you're listening right now, it sounds very disorganized, and that's in fact because it is. Okay, everything is dumb. Let me go to the actual message back here. Let's see. It's a mess. It's a mess. It looks like 4B is winning, the 4B movement, whatever those 4Bs are. All the Bs supporting the 4B movement. That is who wins Dumb Bleep of the Week this year. Yeah, that's who wins. Oh, those are the 4Bs right there. We've got 4 no's. Why B? Why is it? Oh, okay, they're Bs. Okay. Is that South Korea? Is that where the movement's actually from? Yep, okay. So we've got no sex with men. That sounds specific. No giving birth. No dating men. And no marriage with men. Okay. That's what 4B is. If that's what it takes, then that's what it takes. Let's try it out and see what happens. I'm fine with that. That's Dumb Bleep of the Week. Thank you guys for hanging out so much. Leave a rating and review on your favorite podcast app. Find us on X and hang out with us. That's what I'm spending most of my day on, unfortunately. But you can get to me through X pretty easily. Good AM Liberty on X. Go and interact with us on there. Tell the algorithms that the messages that we post are important. So please go and do that. If you do all those things, I'll be back on Tuesday because I'm going to Savannah, Georgia tomorrow. The wedding I'm going to is on Sunday afternoon, and then I won't be driving back until Monday during the day. So I will be back I've never been to Savannah before. Looks like there's a lot of pretty stuff around there. I'm staying right down there on the river in one of those hotels in that main area down there. So I'm going to go stay down there, and hopefully my wife and I are going to spend some time, go see if we can find a beach nearby so we can get a little bit of ocean time. And then we'll walk around and look at all the pretty trees and stuff. You know, they just got great trees out there when you get to that part of the country. Yeah, Hilton Head's only an hour drive from there, it looks like. So I think we are going to go over to Hilton Head while we're there. So anyhow, I'm getting out of here. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. Until Tuesday, have a good weekend and a good morning, Liberty.